Okay, have you ever had this happen? You're sitting there, maybe hours after a conversation, and suddenly this cold feeling washes over you. You walked away thinking, yeah, that went okay. Maybe you were even kind of proud of being direct. But later, the silence feels heavy. Texts aren't coming back as fast. The energy's just off. And you keep replaying that one moment, right? Where they smiled, but it felt so forced, like paper thin. And you're stuck asking yourself that awful question, did I say something wrong? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really going to get into that space, that unseen gap between what we mean to say and how it actually lands. This isn't about blame, okay? It's about building some serious self-awareness, powerful stuff.
Absolutely. And that feeling you described, that internal, uh-oh, it's incredibly human, isn't it? We're looking today at those really subtle cues, the silent language that tells you something shifted in the connection. Maybe it's just they get quiet. Or a flash of irritation you didn't expect, or just distance. You feel it. These aren't direct hits, usually. They're more like little alarm bells going off silently. And they signal that we need to, shift our focus, stop thinking only about why we said it, and start looking at how they actually felt it, their experience.
Okay, let's dive into that, this unseen ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of the time we're totally clueless when the actual hurt happens. We need to get better at spotting those early signs, ones that whisper, hey, you hit a nerve there. So what are those immediate reactions, the subtle retreats we should be looking for right in the moment or just after?
Well, right away, you might notice signs of internal discomfort. Did they suddenly clam up, go quiet, or seem withdrawn? That's a big one. It means they've kind of pulled back inside, maybe to process or just cope. Or sometimes it's the opposite. They laugh, but it sounds wrong. Manufactured, like they're trying way too hard to smooth things over, keep the peace, forcing it.
Yeah, I can picture that forced brightness. It takes energy to do that.
A huge amount. And if you don't catch it then, if it's not addressed somehow, it often morphs into these longer-term shifts. And this is where it gets tricky for you, the listener, because it might not be a big blow-up. It might just be a slow freeze. They're still polite, sure, but there's a distance. The warmth isn't there anymore. Or maybe they get easily irritated around you, or they start subtly avoiding you. It's like they're anxious just being in the same room.
But hold on, if they're feeling hurt, why wouldn't they just say something? Why the silence? Why carry that?
Ugh. That's the fascinating part, the language of silence itself. You hear people say, well, they haven't said anything directly, but I just know something's off. Or maybe they just drop little hints, right? Never really addressing it. It happens because the feeling of emotional safety has eroded. Somewhere along the line, they stopped feeling safe enough to tell you they're hurt. They might fear your reaction, getting defensive, maybe, more than they want things to be resolved. So they just carry it quietly, walking on eggshells.
Wow, so their silence, their distance,
Yeah.
it could actually be about their fear of our reaction, our defensiveness.
Precisely. Which brings us right to that central conflict, intent versus impact. We genuinely care about this person, so how do we end up hurting them when we honestly, truly didn't mean to?
Yeah, our sources really dug into the motivations behind this stuff. And often, the hurt doesn't come from a bad place, not malice. It's more about a lack of a filter or not regulating ourselves. The research pointed to 4 common drivers, these internal things that can unintentionally cause pain. The first couple are about speed, really, emotional speed. First, just reacting emotionally. Boom, no filter. Whatever pops into your head first, unfiltered thought or feeling, just comes out, raw impulse. Second is venting, just dumping all your frustration onto someone, treating them like a sounding board, not a person. No breaks.
When you're venting like that, you're essentially treating the other person like an object, an emotional wall, not a partner in conversation. You're prioritizing getting your tension out over thinking about their capacity to handle it. And that just floods them with negativity. It's fundamentally unsettling for them.
And the other 2 drivers, they're almost sneakier because they can hide behind seemingly good intentions. Like number 3, wanting to be honest, which is good, right?
Right.
But doing it without any thought to how you say it or when or how it might land.
Yeah, the brutal honesty trap.
Exactly. It's the difference between, careful surgery and just swinging a hammer.
And the fourth one is such a classic defense, using humor or sarcasm to sidestep something serious. You toss in a joke when things get tense. Your motive might be to lighten the mood, maybe ease your own anxiety. But the impact, often it feels like dismissal, like you're signaling their concern isn't worth taking seriously.
Okay, so if you tie all that together, it really shows why fixing things, why repair is so damn hard. It comes down to your internal reaction after you realize, uh-oh, I might have messed up. The research showed these 2 main paths we go down psychologically. Productive guilt, or destructive defensiveness.
Right. And the guilt path, counterintuitively, is the useful one. Feeling uncomfortable, uneasy, like you missed something, that little pang of guilt, that feeling, that discomfort, that's actually the seed of accountability. It makes you curious about what they experienced.
But the default for so many of us, maybe unconsciously, is defensiveness. The ego jumping in, right, to protect the self. You feel misunderstood, or you get annoyed. You decide they're the one overreacting. Why is that so tempting?
Well, feeling guilty means taking responsibility for a negative outcome, and our brains are wired to avoid pain, avoid blame. Defensiveness is like a shield. It tells you, nope, not my fault, it's them. But here's the catch. When you choose defensiveness, you block healing completely. Think about it. If they seemed hurt and your first instinct was to explain why you said it, I only said that because you skipped a crucial step. You didn't stop to ask how they felt. And that just screams, my need to be right matters more than your feelings.
Oof, that's a really sharp distinction. Explaining your intent versus actually validating their experience. So if we want to change this pattern, we need to think about the whole environment, the architecture of emotional safety. What kinds of ongoing habits, according to the sources, really wear down trust over time? The things that make someone feel like they have to walk on eggshells.
It's often that continuous low-grade lack of consideration. Behaviors that subtly signal the relationship isn't balanced, like expecting them to just absorb whatever emotional storm you're going through, treating them like your on-call therapist, basically. Or the flip side, avoiding anything emotional altogether, hoping tough issues just evaporate if you ignore them. That avoidance, it creates this constant uncertainty. No one feels secure. The contrast to that, what the source is called zero-point behavior, that's the ideal baseline for communication. It's not about being perfect. Nobody is. It's about aiming for openness, for understanding, trying to be honest, yes, but also actively managing your tone, your timing. It's like constantly recalibrating to keep things emotionally stable.
Zero-point behavior, I like that. It's like the steady ground you need before you can even think about repairing things.
Yeah.
But even when we know we should repair, we often choke. Why do we freeze up right when an apology is needed most?
Ugh, the apology moment, it's critical. And yeah, people freeze. Sometimes it's just fear, right? Scared to reopen the wound by bringing it up again. But the most damaging reason ties back to what we just discussed, genuinely believing, I didn't do anything wrong. That completely dismisses their reality. Their lived experience just doesn't count.
Okay, let's break down the difference between real repair and just deflection, because they can look kind of similar at first glance.
Genuine repair takes effort, real investment. The sources talk about it like I genuinely apologized and we worked through it. See the difference? The working through it part means it was collaborative. You were patient. You actually invested time in helping them feel better. Deflection. That's saying sorry real fast. Rushing it. Why? Because you're uncomfortable with the tension. It's less about healing their hurt and more about easing your own guilt. It's basically avoidance pretending to be an apology.
Got it. So, okay, let's say we know we caused harm. We've confirmed it. What's the absolute best response? The one that rebuilds safety.
It's all about shifting your focus outward, totally external. The ideal response is just listen. Listen deeply. Try to understand how they felt the harm, and then specifically ask, what can I do to make this right? Or how can I help fix this? And crucially, it scores 0 points, maybe even negative points, if your first move is explaining your side or getting defensive because it wasn't my fault. Healing only starts when you prioritize their experience over your need to be cleared of blame.
Okay, this research gives us a kind of scale, doesn't it? A 4-tier roadmap to understand our own awareness level here. It's not like a formal quiz you took, but more a framework based on these patterns. So let's walk through them. Where might you, the listener, fall, and what's the next step for growth?
Yeah, think of it as a roadmap for emotional growth, not judgment.
Tier 1, the harmonizer. This is the gold standard, really. High awareness, maybe practiced or just natural. You handle tough talks with care. You think before you speak. You show emotional intelligence. You're open to working through stuff without getting defensive right away. The key here is that consistency. Honesty plus kindness equals emotional safety.
Then we have tier 2, the unintentional misstep. Okay, so here, the harm was probably a misunderstanding, a misread. You didn't mean to hurt them. Maybe you were distracted, stressed, or just landed weirdly because of context. Something like that. This is actually a great place to be for reflection because you're close. The fix, usually pretty simple. A gentle, humble check-in. Hey, I was thinking about what I said earlier. Did that come across okay? Or did I miss something? Just asking shows you care. Rebuild safety.
Okay, tier 3, the call to vulnerability. Now, here there's a pretty good chance they felt hurt, often because you spoke out of frustration, maybe, or you went for that brutal honesty without enough care. Maybe vent it. Let stress take over the filter. Doesn't make you a bad person. But the emotional cost for them was likely high. The way forward, you got to reach out with vulnerability, not defense. Seek to understand them, not justify yourself. Show the relationship matters more than being right.
And finally, tier 4, significant emotional disconnect. This level suggests they likely felt really unheard, dismissed, maybe genuinely disrespected. They could be carrying some deep, quiet pain. The silence here is profound. The action needed now is significant, foundational, really. Step 1 is a heartfelt, full apology that owns the impact. Or maybe even before that, specifically asking, how did you actually experience that moment? And then listen. No justifications yet. You have to earn back the right to explain your side much later. When you boil it all down, the core lesson from all this is that self-awareness is one of the most powerful ways we show love. It means accepting that, yeah, sometimes we mess up. We hurt people without meaning to. And real growth isn't about never messing up. It's about being willing to pause, reflect, apologize, and try again. That willingness, that's what mends things. That's what builds deep trust.
Hmm. And that really leaves us with something important to think about, doesn't it? If self-awareness is the antidote to unintentional harm, how often do we mistake someone else's silence for actual resolution? What pain might still be lingering unspoken simply because we haven't taken that brave, maybe awkward step, that step of just asking honestly and gently, how did you experience that moment? Something to definitely consider next time you feel that quiet settle in after a difficult conversation.